Hey everyone, my name is Deneen White and I am the host of the VIP Ignite Live podcast. Today I have a very special episode for you. Today we're going to be speaking to Kaylie Clay, and the reason this is so special is this is one of those episodes where it's kind of like we know where she started, but where is she now? So Kaylie, thank you so much for being here on the podcast with me.
Thank you for having me. This is so exciting.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I've wanted to do this for so long, so I'm really excited for you to share your journey with everyone who's going to listen to this podcast, because I feel like your story is really special, not only because we've been on this journey together for like 3 or 4 years, which it doesn't seem possible, does it?
No, it feels so fast.
Yeah, it's like in the snap of a fingers, 4 years have passed. But I think for me, your journey is so special because I've really seen you evolve. When I met you, you were a high school kid. You may not have thought you were a kid at that time, but you were a high school kid, and now you're an adult living in Los Angeles. So can you talk a little bit about where you were when you started your journey as a model and with VIP Ignite?
Okay, well, when I started, I, like you said, was a bit shy, and the sense of like not really wanting to put myself out there. I had a bit of a growth issue there. Like I found myself to be really to myself, really independent, not outgoing at all. And with VIP Ignite, it was a great opportunity for me to learn that, and also a great opportunity for connections and networking, of course. But overall for me, I think it just helped me as a person. It helped me grow to learn how to be myself around other people and be comfortable with myself. Of course, I'm still working on that, but I don't know. It helped me find a better sense of myself, if that makes sense. So just being around people who want to do the same things you want to do and are devoted and caring and helpful in any way. Like, it's a super supportive group, and I would recommend it to anybody who is just now starting but doesn't know much about the industry. It's a really good growth group.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. And as you know this, but for anyone listening, we love working with brand new talent because there's a lot of misinformation out there about the industry. So having the opportunity to work with someone like yourself and watch you trust the process, because for you, it certainly was a process. It wasn't like one day you were starting and the next day you were in LA living your best life. Like, there was definitely a process that you went through. And that's the development process, because you have to not only get comfortable with yourself, but you have to get comfortable in front of the camera. And if you're not comfortable with yourself, then you're not going to the camera's going to pick up on those insecurities. So can you talk a little bit about that journey? Because I know, like you mentioned, that you've gone through that growth process. Can you talk a little bit about maybe a couple different factors that contributed to that growth?
A couple of different factors that contributed to it would be me being able to be myself around people, not just by myself. Being able to just, I don't know, can you ask the question one more time?
Yeah. What are some of the factors that contributed to the growth that you've experienced over the last couple of years?
Some of the factors meaning like how I've changed?
What are some events that maybe changed you, or what is maybe some work that you've done on yourself that's changed you?
Well, as some of you who I went to VIP Ignite might know, I struggle with anxiety. So my main thing is being able to tell myself no when that's happening in my head. Like, there are times where I feel like a joke, where I feel like I don't feel like a model, where I feel like other people are looking at me like I'm not a model, and that gets in my head. And that's just your little voice in your head telling you that it's not true. You can totally block that out. It is a process, but you just have to remind yourself that that's not you. That's just the negative little portion of you in the back of your head. You got to block that out and be like, no, this is not going to happen. I'm going to be able to speak freely without being nervous. I'm not going to get sweaty hands. I'm not going to, you just got to tell yourself no. Be able to like put yourself in front of yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
as like a blocking.
Yeah, that makes total sense, because I think there are so many people. I know I interview so many people who want to become models and want to become actors, and one of the things that they all struggle with is that self-doubt. We like to call that imposter syndrome. Like, oh, I'm not good enough for this. I can't do this. But the reality is that you can do this, and you're proof of that, because you overcame that anxiety every day. Let's be honest, you probably still overcome it every day, because that's
having it right now.
Yeah, but you know what, Kaylie, do you remember the first time we did a podcast? The first time we did a podcast, I think it lasted like 5 minutes, because you were like, I asked you like 5 questions, you were like, yes, no. I was like, well, thank you very much for watching. But like, look how far you've come. It's amazing.
It's definitely a big change, just to like see myself and like talking to you and like talking about the stories in the past of like our old interviews and the old photo shoots and the old like getting together, the old me basically. It was just, it's a big change to see how I can become like this person, to being like, oh yeah, girl, you got it, like that's perfect, angle this way, like helping people out in photo shoots and stuff. And I don't know, just trying to be helpful in any way. That's like my main goal for anyone, anywhere I'm at.
Yeah. I still remember the moment I think you figured out that you really were a model in LA at that LA photo shoot. Like, I remember there was one photo that you took, and this was back like 3 years ago. There was this one photo you took, and I was like, wow, okay, this is awesome. So can you talk a little bit about like your growth in front of the camera too? Like, I've seen some of your most recent photos. I was like, holy man, is that my Kaylie Clay? So can you talk about like that part of the growth process as well? Like, how did you get comfortable? Was it because you did like 2 shoots, or because you've been doing this over and over again?
It definitely gets better as you do it more and more. But for me personally, when I first started shooting, I've always loved being in front of a camera. Even before I tried to get into the modeling industry, I was always at home doing shoots, like photoing with my phone and all that. But when it got into becoming like a photography thing, where I would go do photo shoots with photographers, at first I was a little, what's the word? I was just not putting my all into it. I was kind of timid. I was just being like, oh yeah, hey, instead of like trying to work with my whole body. I was just so focused on what I looked like, and it was driving me insane, because it would turn out, and the pictures would turn out not to be good, because you could see the insecurities and the uncomfortableness. Like, my whole energy was just flat. But over time, again, with the anxiety, I would just tell myself, you know, no, own this floor, own this whole, like, this is your whole world, like, own it. Bring it, do whatever you gotta do, be weird, be funny, be cute, just go for it. Do anything you can think of. And that's what really started to change my shooting process. It is like, I stopped being so much in my head. I just did. I started incorporating my dance into my shoots. Like, I used to be a dancer, so I was like, hey, you're flexible, why don't you try this or try that? Hey, you're pretty strong, why don't you lift yourself from the stool and spread your legs out or do something weird? And that's what really helped me overall, is like putting my other talents and coordinating it into being a model as well.
That's phenomenal. That's awesome. Yeah. And all of that hard work you did on your mind and being better in front of the camera has paid off in dividends for you. Because I remember at that event where the first time I saw, oh my gosh, this girl is a model, you had the opportunity to meet an agent, and it didn't go very well, and now he is your agent. So can you talk a little bit about that process?
So that's a great story. So we were at one of our networking events with VIP Ignite, and there's agents and producers and casting directors all set up on tables, and we were all lined up to meet them one by one. And we had a portfolio book, and everything was nice. And I walked up to this one agent, and I was like, hi, my name is so-and-so, da-da-da, here's my portfolio. And they looked at me, and they were like, this is great. And he closed my book, and he was like, but you need to lose some weight. And I was like, okay. And I just grabbed my book, and I walked away. And he wasn't meaning it in like a mean way. He was being direct. That's how agents are. And you have to be able to take criticism. You have to be able to take rejection and not take it so harshly or personal. At the time, this was a big lesson learned. in his face, I was respectful. I was like, okay, thank you, and then I walked away. Right after that, I had an asthma attack, which is really weird. I haven't had an asthma attack in years, and yeah, it kind of just, I was so flustered and in my head about like, why didn't he like me? Da, 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 da. And yeah, it literally caused me to have an asthma attack at this event. Not the greatest time.
No.
But no. But I worked on that, and I talked myself down. I was like, it's not that he was being harsh. He wasn't saying you're not worth it or anything, even though that's how I took it. That's not how it was being presented. He was just like, you need to do this. Once you do this, contact me. And that's how it should be. Like, you should be able to take that not with a grain of salt. Like, you don't take it to heart. Even though it can sound rude, they don't mean it rude most of the time.
Well, no, and I love that you have that awareness now, because I remember how upset you were, but now, like, you took the criticism and now you're working with him. Tell me how that happened.
He's great. So once I moved out to LA after moving from New York City, I just, right before an event that I was getting ready to go to with VIP, I would just randomly was like, I'm gonna submit myself, I'm gonna submit some photos and just say hi. And I did that, and once I got back from our event, I got an email from him saying to come in and to take digitals and to possibly be represented by him. And I was like, I was completely ecstatic. I was like, is this real? So of course I went to the meeting and it went great. He's seriously an amazing person and so kind.
That's amazing, Kaylie. And you just booked one of your biggest jobs to date, right? You can't talk about the client, but tell me what it was like to book a job where you got paid very well.
What? Like, I'm speechless. It was just, it was the starting point of me realizing that this is happening. Like, I'm not a joke. Like, it does take time. It does take a timeline. You have to be patient. But over time, if you stay dedicated and work hard, you're going to see results. And that's what I'm starting to see now.
That's all. And you know what? And I love you. I love that, because there were times you may not have verbalized it, but I'm sure that there were times along the last couple of years where you were like, okay, you know what, maybe I should just throw in the towel. But you never did. Like, no matter what, you always kept going, and you were always shooting, and you were always, even during like the craziness of the last 2 years, like, you were still moving forward and making moves. And I love that, because I think so many times when people want to be a part of the entertainment industry, they're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to show up and bam, someone's going to snap their fingers and pixie dust is going to go all over me and I'm going to be successful. But the thing is that, I mean, for some people that does happen. I don't want to dissuade anyone from believing that, because there are some people it happens immediately. But most overnight successes take 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So even for you, like, even though it didn't feel like it in the midst of it, it happened pretty quickly for you.
I can definitely agree to that. And I'm still at a shock with words, because like every time I think that you just said your first big job, it brings me back to me being at this hotel, finding you guys and being like, this is it, this is my chance. Like, I've always wanted to do this. We've never been financially stable. I'm in a good place right now. This is it. So yeah, thank you for noticing that. And I am going to continue to work hard. All it really takes is just putting yourself out there. And if you don't know photographers who are in your area that you're around, a good idea is to go to like somewhere like a comedy show or somewhere, and that'd be a great place for connections. Just go out for a walk downtown in your city. Maybe you'll have someone walk up to you, or you'll see someone with a camera, and just be nice about it. Like, say, hey, what kind of photography do you do? Da, da, da. Reach out. That's what I've been doing, and it's saved me a lot of money.
Yeah. So always be careful when you're doing that, though. Always take a friend. Just cautionary tale, because I don't want anyone to be like, oh, okay. Make sure that you're always really safe with that, especially, well, men and women. Always make sure you're safe. But I love that tip. And something else you can do is always work with us, because we can get you started. Right? So always check out VIP Ignite for that. But Kaylie, I'm so stinking proud of you. Just seeing the person sitting in front of me is not the person I met that first time. And I just want to thank you, first of all, for sharing your story with us, because your story is so inspirational. So anyone who is listening, maybe you're a little bit shy, maybe you're insecure, you know what, like, get outside, get out of your own head. If this is something you want to do, go for it. Because again, Kaylie's been working on this for a couple years, and she's went from being a girl who was in her head and didn't really want to interact with people. Now look at her. It's amazing. So it's just, I'm just really proud of you trusting the process. I'm proud of you for sticking with it even when the times got hard. And anyone who, even if you have anxiety, like, Kaylie is proof that you can overcome any obstacle that comes your way. You just you have to want it bad enough.
That's definitely true. And thank you guys for your support. Like, you guys are nonstop supporting me, commenting on my photos, reposting me. Like, I appreciate you guys so much, and I will never forget it.
Well, we appreciate you too, Kaylie. Like, I wish I were there so I could just hug it out with you. But I guess, you know what? I guess I have to figure out a time to come to LA so we can hug it out.
Definitely, or meet a PA.
Or, oh yeah, you can come here. We'll sometime in 2022. If you're watching this, mark my words. You and I are going to hug it out in 2022, no matter what.
I would love that.
Okay, awesome. Well, Kaylie, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It was absolutely amazing. And anyone who is listening to this podcast, please make sure that you follow us. I'm going to have more Where Are They Now podcasts coming up, because I want to show you that as long as you're persistent, you can do this. Make sure that you follow us on Apple iTunes. Make sure you follow us anywhere that you listen to this podcast. It's VIP Ignite Live Podcast. And follow us on social media too. We're at VIP Ignite everywhere. So Kaylie, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And I can't wait to hug it out with you very soon.
Thank you, Janine.
You're
Love
welcome.
you guys.
Love you. Bye.